Breaking overnight, they got him. U.S. authorities say they have captured 2 Mexican drug kingpins, including former cartel boss El Chapo's son. The 2 were arrested in the U.S. after evading law enforcement for decades. Officials say Ismael Zambada, known as El Mayo, and Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the son of El Chapo.
For all the... Okay.
But were taken into custody after boarding a plane under the pretense of inspecting a property in Mexico when they got a surprise of their lives. Let's get straight to CNN's Polo Sandoval with the details. So what happened? They got him on this plane and then...
So we can't overstate this enough. This is a massive victory for the U.S. government, Sarah. You have one of the most wanted cartel bosses, at least wanted by the federal government, a multi-million-dollar price on his head, who, together with Joaquin Guzman, we all know him as El Chapo, helped actually establish the Sinaloa cartel, was essentially tricked to fly into the waiting arms of U.S. law enforcement. It really reads out of a Narcos episode, but it's reality here. A little bit about Ismael Zambada, who's known by authorities as El Mayo.
Can you imagine getting ratted on by a guy who looks like this? The like pasty fail son of a drug lord legend? Man.
Oversaw, according to federal prosecutors, the manufacturing and the distribution of narcotics going all the way back to 1989 and up until this year. According to federal prosecutors, El Mayo in his mid-70s, this is an old school kind of cartel boss, right? He kept a low profile, unlike his partner. Probably one of the reasons why up until now he hadn't actually set foot in a cell. In fact, it's very difficult even finding recent photographs of this individual. But some of those pictures that you just saw a short while ago, those were actually taken not far from El Paso, about 20 miles away from El Paso, according to what I've heard, as well as some of my other colleagues heard from.
I'm sorry, what a massive victory for the U.S. government. Yeah, because the cartel sells here. The cartel operates in Mexico or south of there, but like American like federal agents and drug enforcement or what have you are involved like pretty much all up and down the Americas, because I mean, it's, you know, it's all in our backyard, right? And it does affect us. That's a pretty big deal. I wonder what the response is going to be. Like, you know, what the consequences are. God damn. They aren't even trying to solve the problems in our streets with fentanyl and cartels, but yeah, let's go kidnap some top dogs. Well, they're not kidnapping them, man. They're arresting them. They're cartel lords. It's actually okay. Yeah, listen, okay, I hate the U.S. government too, but you're not going to catch me saying that they don't have it coming, all right? They have this and worse coming. They are very, very bad people, okay? Very bad people. Does the cartel bleed up into the USA? Like, what do they do to us? They sell to us. The cartel doesn't engage in that much violence north of the border because we're America and we have, like, a lot of money in police. We don't really have no-go zones the way Mexico does. But, yeah, they get their guns from us. We get our drugs from them. And, you know, it sort of contributes to a big economic chain that runs down, like, all the way through the Americas, you know? The cartel does sell out to police and border security, though, right? There are plenty of corrupt police north of the border, like in Texas and stuff, that like get checks cut to them from the cartel to allow like the free flow of drugs into the U.S. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know they buy our guns. We're America, motherfucker. We have all the guns. Well, at least that's fun, AK Comrade Robin Hood. Most drugs that come through the border come from U.S. citizens. Yeah, not through undocumented immigrants. Why the if you were a cartel boss, would you hedge your multi-billion-dollar business on the ability for highly scrutinized, undocumented immigrants to carry drugs across the border? Why wouldn't you just use citizens? There are plenty of U.S. citizens who are, yeah, cartel affiliated or just members of the cartel.
Some of those investigators, those sources close to the investigation. He stepped aboard this airplane yesterday under false pretenses that he would be flying to see a property, potentially to buy it. And he had no idea that this plane would eventually land near El Paso, where U.S. authorities were waiting. As you can see in that footage, you see some of those federal investigators on the ground. They even actually attach a chain to the propeller of the plane that is believed to have been the one that actually flew El Mayo, as well as Joaquin Guzman.
Starting to see more MZ social accounts coalescing with Mayo Flaco as the new leader of the Mayo Zambada faction of the Sinaloa cartel. That seems like a dangerous thing to do. I guess you kind of have to show your allegiance very quickly. Nice piece. I love drug cartel guns. They love their shiny bling.
Lopez, one of Chapo's sons, who's accused of also running the Sinaloa crime syndicate. While his whereabouts, while El Mayo's whereabouts are still unclear, I can tell you, Sarah, that a U.S. DOJ aircraft that's frequently used for extraditions of fugitives and of suspects traveled from El Paso to the Chicago area this morning, and that is important because El Mayo actually has an outstanding indictment, one of several there in that district. You know, one of the big questions, will this actually reshape the cartel landscape? Right. Is the Sinaloa cartel no more? I can tell you, absolutely not. If anything, what I've seen in the past, this only leads to infighting, friction, and a power struggle to fill a void.
Apparently,
and what
yeah.
a void this is, especially for this sort of elder cartel boss that is now in U.S. custody. And then the final and perhaps the most key question here, who actually betrayed him? There is some reporting out there and several leads that we're following that suggested it possibly was from within the Sinaloa cartel syndicate, but not yet ready to actually go there. Finally, I do want you to hear directly from the U.S. Attorney General that was ultimately the one who finally confirmed this hours after we started hearing about this yesterday afternoon, about the significance of this arrest.
Fentanyl is the deadliest drug threat our country has ever faced.
Still issue.
The Justice Department will not rest until every single cartel leader, member, and associate responsible for poisoning our communities is held accountable.
Could this help Kamala? Probably not, no, because the organizations that made the arrest aren't either like explicitly political or don't really care for the Democrats, right? Like, you're probably not going to get ICE or Border Patrol making those statements. It's possible that this leads to good outcomes, but in the immediate sense, it's probably going to lead to a lot of violence south of the border. And that might lead actually to more undocumented immigration or more migrancy.
Agent Garland, really sort of punctuating the significance of this because the Sinaloa cartel, according to the DA, is believed to have provided, or at least manufactured and distributed, a majority of the fentanyl that has ended up here in the United States, killing many, many Americans.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of Americans. It is an incredible get.
Billions and billions. The Sinaloa guys, man, pretty wacky. This is like the other guy, man. Throughout the 90s and aughts, the Sinaloa cartel, under the leadership of figures like El Chapo and El Mayo, and they got El Chapo, and now they've gotten El Mayo. No wonder they're breaking apart into a bunch of different factions. As of 2023, the cartel remains Mexico's most dominant drug cartel. The cartel was headed by old-school leader Ishmael El Mayo Zambada and Guzman's other sons, until 2024 when both Ishmael El Mayo Zambada and Joaquin Guzman Lopez were arrested by U.S. authorities in El Paso, Texas. The cartel has had a significant impact in the war on drugs. Is there like an estimate on how much they move? I guess it's impossible to know exactly how much. The focal point for Sinaloa in Chicago is the city's Little Village neighborhood. From this strategic point, the cartel distributes their product at the wholesale level to dozens of local street gangs, as much as 2 metric tons a month in a city with over 117,000 documented gang members. Tens of billions a year. Yeah, it's a lot. The foot soldiers in Sinaloa are very pissed and openly threatening war against El Chapo family's faction of the Sinaloa cartel because it's now known El Chapo's son snitched in El Mayo. These guys sure are wacky, huh? Cartels and their pride.